Hello, good evening. Welcome to the second episode of Pat's Movie Mania. For those of you not familiar, we're going to review a couple of movies, and then have our top 10 list of yearly movies that started in 1978. This week we're up to 1979, being the second episode. So, welcome back everyone who's watching. And the first movie, more recent movie we're going to review today is called Spinning Gold. And this is a 2023 release, and it's available, I believe, on Netflix right now, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to double check that. Nope, Prime Video. Anyway, so what this movie is about is the founding of Casablanca Records in the early 70s. Now, ended up being proclaimed the most successful independent record label ever. And it's the story as seen through the eyes of Neil Bogart, who was the president of the company at the time. And he actually narrates the show. And I'm not him, but the actor who plays him, Jeremy Jordan, narrates the show and kind of talks to us and explains to us what was going on at the time. And I'm a big fan of 70s movies. This is when I grew up, and I was a teenager, young teenager in the 20s, in my 20s, whatever. But I like to watch these movies, and of course, to me, nobody did it better than Richard Linklater in Dazed and Confused, or also you might even want to think about Boogie Nights. But Spinning Gold also does a very good job of capturing the 70s. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Casablanca Records, they were the impetus behind Donna Summer and Kiss, among others, Gladys Knight, and they just were really, really successful after a while. Now, took them a while to become successful, but after Kiss and Donna Summer hit it big, they were really, really, really popular. And it goes through the birth of the label and how they had to split away from the bigger companies and go independent, and really captures the feeling of the 70s that I like so much, because since like I said, I grew up in that. I always watched to make sure they got everything right. And they did a pretty good job, a really good job. The Ice Storm is another one that did a great job of portraying the 70s. But this one, really, really entertaining. Great music, great cast. Michelle Monaghan, Jay Farrow, smaller roles by Michael Ian Black, and Dan Fogler. My most interesting was Jason Isaacs, who plays Neil Bogart's father. And I always get a kick out of watching British actors do American accents or English accents, or whatever you want to call it. And he was just excellent. And it was a different kind of role for him, because he usually plays a villain or, a snooty kind of guy. And he was just great as the kind of ne'er-do-well father of Neil Bogart. And, they had people playing the Kiss people and Donna Summer that weren't familiar actors, but they were very good in what they did. Highly recommend Spinning Gold. It's now available on Prime Video. It's a long movie. It's about 2.5 hours, but it's worth it. Never a dull moment, and one of my favorites of the recent years so far. Now, the second one, as we go back, as we normally do, we go back a little, maybe 20, 30 years, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my favorite movie of all time, American Beauty. And if you haven't seen it, run out, get it, buy it, watch it, whatever you got to do. One of my favorite all-time movies. This is the story of Lester Burnham, played by Kevin Spacey, who's just a total loser. He has a dead-end job. He makes a decent amount of money, but his wife doesn't love him anymore, and he's just a total loser, and decides at 40 years old that it's just time to start all over. And he just really does it well. And I don't want to get into the details of how he does it, because it'll ruin it for you, but he quits his job and gets a pretty decent severance package where he can just live and do whatever he wants. And he starts working out and becoming more sure of himself, more confident. And some of the other characters, and Annette Bening plays his wife, and very snooty, stuck-up kind of woman, but she also has her faults also. And his daughter, played by Thora Birch, is just wonderful. And the neighbor next door, played by Wes Bentley, Ricky Fitz is his name, and he takes a liking to Lester, and they become friends and party mates, or whatever you want to call it. But it's just exploring about how however old you are, and if you're not happy with your life, you can start all over and make it how you want it. It's just not that hard if you really try. And Lester Burnham proves that. Now, I won't give away the ending, but there's a scene near the end that's played with Annie Lennox singing "Don't Let It Bring You Down" over kind of a montage. It's just amazing, amazing part of the movie. Now, the ending is my favorite part. And again, I won't give any of it away, but the final shot, the absolute final shot and fade out, to me, is one of the best endings ever in the movies. It's also a great turn by Chris Cooper as Lester's neighbor, who has a couple of hidden secrets himself, and his wife, played by Allison Janney, who's just kind of like a robot and just does whatever he tells her. And even in her small role, she just makes a good impression, as she usually does. This was directed by Sam Mendes, and it was one of his first big movies after Road to Perdition, but this, to me, is his best. And it won deserved Oscars for Best Picture and Kevin Spacey for Best Actor. To me, it's in my top three of all time. I don't really like to name a absolute best favorite, but it's one of my top three, and we'll get to the other two at some point, I'm sure. Now, just on a personal note, one of my cats I named Lester after Lester Burnham. I name all my cats after movie characters or that kind of thing. So Lester, who's no longer with us, but he was named after Lester Burnham. And matter of fact, if I can show you a picture of him. That's him right there. That's Lester. He passed away about 2 years ago, and here's his ashes for those of you who are interested. So anyway, what we're going to do now is go to our top 10 list, and this would be from 1979, if I can bring it up here. Great year for movies, 1979. Just wonderful. I mean, there's so many movies, it was hard to pick a top 10 list. You almost had to do a top 20, but I'm going to do what I can here. So here we go. 1979, my top 10 movies are: number 10, Time After Time, a great time travel movie with Malcolm McDowell playing H.G. Wells, who gets in his time machine and comes into the present time, and he's chasing his friend Jack the Ripper, who he found out was Jack the Ripper, even though he didn't know that at the time, but he's chasing him through the future. And David Warner just really good as Jack the Ripper. I just really started to fall in love with him at this point, and this was a star-making turn for Mary Steenburgen. It was her first big role, and the next year she would win an Oscar. But she was kind of an unknown at this point, and she just really kind of stole the whole movie from Malcolm McDowell. But if you like time travel movies, that kind of thing, it's really one of your better ones. I really enjoyed it. That's Time After Time, 1979, directed by Nicholas Meyer. Number 9, I might have had this a little higher at some point, but it ends up number 9 now. All That Jazz, Bob Fosse's musical, kind of considered autobiographical. Some people found it pretentious. I found it very entertaining. The music and dancing is just amazing. And if you know Bob Fosse, you could just identify his dancing just by a few steps, and he just did a great job. And Roy Scheider, not my favorite actor, but he handled the role good enough. From what I read, that Richard Dreyfuss was originally going to be in it, and he didn't get along with Fosse, so he replaced him with Roy Scheider. Roy Scheider, not really being a song and dance man, did the best that he could. I thought maybe somebody else might have been better in the role, but still a good movie, great ending, and that's number 9 on my list. All That Jazz, directed by Bob Fosse, starring Roy Scheider, among others. Jessica Lange has an interesting part toward the end that I won't give away, but now I just want to tell you that while I do these top 10 lists, I do them more like a spontaneous kind of thing. My movies that I review, I make a few notes just so I can know what I'm talking about. But on the top 10 list, I just like to go in blind and just remember what I can about them. There is another note I wanted to mention about Spinning Gold while I'm here that I forgot, and that's that the ending owes a lot to All That Jazz and American Beauty, for that matter. So you'll understand if you see all of those movies. So back to the top 10 list. Number 8. This is The Onion Field. Harold Becker's portrayal of the Onion Field murder back in the 60s. Two Los Angeles policemen, played by Ted Danson and John Savage, are kidnapped or taken hostage by James Woods and his people, and one of them ends up getting killed. And the ensuing trial and backlash that it caused John Savage's character is the main gist of the movie. Really interesting, a little laggy at times, but for the most part, keeps your interest. James Woods just amazing when one of his early big roles as the killer, and Ted Danson again I had a small part, and but John Savage is basically the whole movie, and he did a very good job. Number 7, one of your better comedies from the year, The In-Laws. What can you say about this? If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't see it, go out and see it. And Peter Falk and Alan Arkin, just amazing. Peter Falk plays a spy. Alan Arkin's a dentist who Peter Falk gets involved in a big thing in the Cuba-like country about counterfeit money, and their son and daughter are getting married at the same time. So they're trying to get back from the wedding, and it's just there's so many funny things in this. I can't begin to start to tell you all of them. But The In-Laws, then this was remade more recently, about I don't know, 10 years ago with Michael Douglas and Albert Brooks. Not as good, but it was okay. But the original In-Laws, Peter Falk, Alan Arkin especially, just so funny in this movie. And remember, Serpentine. So that brings us to number 6. Another big movie of the year, won quite a few awards. This is Kramer versus Kramer, and you've all heard of this. One of Meryl Streep's first big roles. Her and Dustin Hoffman play husband and wife who are splitting up, and they battle over the custody of their child. And Dustin Hoffman becomes wasn't much of a father before that, and he comes to understand his son a little more, and he doesn't want to give him up, and you can't really blame him. Meryl Streep won an Oscar for this. Dustin Hoffman won an Oscar. The movie won the Oscar. It was just very well put together. The kind of movie that says late 70s. Done, just straightforward, no effects, no nonsense. Just really, really well. You can't go wrong watching this movie. Number 5, one of my favorites that a lot of people don't like, is And Justice for All. Al Pacino's portrayal of a lawyer who's just about had it with the system and takes matters into his own hands at the end. And one of his best performances, I thought. And it takes place in Baltimore. John Forsythe is in it. Jeffrey Tambor. Christine Lottie, one of her first roles. Al Pacino just does an amazing job at this. He's basically the whole movie, but that's good because he can handle it. And you'll notice Dominic Chianese in a small role in this, if you know him from The Sopranos, Uncle Junior. But And Justice for All, very good courtroom movie, if you like those. I do. And this was also directed by Norman Jewison. Nominated for a lot of awards. Didn't win anything. Wasn't a big critics movie, but one of my favorites anyway, so for whatever that's worth. So that brings us to number 4. Now, I consider this, along with Hoosiers, as probably one of the best sports movies of all time. And that's North Dallas 40, about a fictional football team in Texas that's having some problems getting to the championship. And this was based on a really good book. If you read the book, the book is good too. And this stars Mac Davis and Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte's playing an aging wide receiver who all beat up and just probably his last year, and he just wants to play football. He doesn't want to do any of the nonsense that the coaches demand of him and all that. Mac Davis, really surprising performance by him in this. Never thought he could act so well, but he was hilarious. Got a lot of comedy, a lot of realism. Kind of just exactly what pro football was probably like in 1979. I mean, I certainly wasn't there, but I was alive, and just seems like very, very interesting and realistic sports movie. Again, probably one of the best sports movies of all time, except for maybe Hoosiers. So that brings us to number 3, and this is another interesting movie, The Warriors, one of Walter Hill's first big movies, and It's about a gang in New York City, and there's a big meeting for all the gangs. They want to get together and overthrow the police, but there's a murder, and the Warriors are accused of it, even though they didn't do it, and they have to fight their way back to Coney Island, which is their home turf. And a lot of color, a lot of colorful characters. How realistic it was, I don't know, but more like a comic book kind of thing, but just very entertaining and very violent too. Just for that era, it was violent. The early turns by Michael Beck, James Remar, Deborah Van Valkenburg, Paul Greco, a lot of different big gangs. You know, you have your Turnbull ACs, your electrical eliminators, the Gramercy Riffs. Again, don't know how realistic this was for gangs in the late 70s in New York, but it makes for a great story. And good soundtrack too. Joe Walsh played In the City toward the end. It became a big hit. So, The Warriors. Go to see it. Tell me if you like it. Okay, number 2. We're getting up there now. Number 2, one of the most debated movies of all time, most controversial movies of all time. That, of course, is Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now. Now, I have to admit, first time I saw this movie at the theater, didn't like it at all. Didn't like it at all. It was just, I thought it was too boring. I thought it was too talky. Then I started watching it, you know, when it came on cable, and the genius of it just started coming through. It's just, I don't know. You watch it, every time you'll find something new. Coppola had a lot of problems making the movie, but he did get the point across. Of course, if you don't know what it's about a soldier in Vietnam who's sent to assassinate basically another American soldier who has gone bananas, basically. And his traipse up the river to find Colonel Kurtz, who's played wonderfully by Marlon Brando. Martin Sheen, of course, is the star after Harvey Keitel bowed out. And Sheen did a great job, even though, you know, I see him more of as a TV actor, but he was good in it. He was very good in this. Marlon Brando, Dennis Hopper, I loved in this. Sam Bottoms, very young Lawrence Fishburne played one of the soldiers on the boat that he's on, and just really good acting in it. Now, there's also a version that has some added scenes. If you watch that, the story comes through even more. It's much longer, but you know what? It's worth it. So, Apocalypse Now, my second best movie of 1979, which brings us to number 1, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack about this, but for my money, one of the best comedies of all time, and that's Monty Python's The Life of Brian. You can say what you want about it. The fact is, it was funny, and that's what a comedy is supposed to be, is funny. If you're not into Monty Python's brand of humor, you're probably not going to like it. I personally am, and oh my God, was it a funny movie. It's about takes place back in the times of Jesus, and Brian is mistaken for the Messiah, and has to go around proving that he isn't the Messiah, and people are chasing him all over the place, and it's just, the Python boys are at their best on this one, I thought, anyway. So, that's it for now. That's the top 10 for 1979. We will be back with another episode a week from now, hopefully. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you watch it, and we're gonna do another one in a week. And the top 10 for that will be 1980. The movies we're going to review yet, I don't know, but I may not have seen them yet, so we shall see. Until then, have a great week. Bye.